The meeting room was huge. Admiral Kim Taho looked around at the curved walls that stretched up to the ceiling far above his head. The room was built for giants, not humans. Everything here was made to make humans feel small and weak. Kim sat at the small table given to the human team. Next to him sat Ambassador Park So-min, a woman who had spent her whole life learning to talk to aliens. On his other side was Commander Lee Min-ho, the youngest person on their team. Lee was only 30 years old, but he was one of the smartest military minds Earth had ever seen. Across from them sat the 12 members of the Galactic Council. Each one looked different and strange. The Vorthok looked like giant lizards with sharp teeth and cold yellow eyes. Their leader, General Sithlock, kept making low, growling sounds whenever humans spoke. The Nethys were made of living crystal. They looked like walking diamonds, but they were not beautiful. When they moved, they made clicking sounds that hurt human ears. Their leader, Crystal Singer, Velthera, glowed with a cold blue light that made everyone feel uncomfortable. The Gorvani were the worst to look at. They looked like giant slugs covered in slime. Their leader, Bloatlord Mergith, was so fat he needed a special chair to hold his weight. Green slime dripped from his mouth when he talked. At the head of the table sat the supreme arbitrator, Kethfer. He was a Zephyrian, which meant he looked like a giant insect. His body was covered in hard black shell, and his forearms moved like spider legs. When he spoke, his voice buzzed like 1,000 bees. Human delegation will now hear our final terms, Kethfer said. His voice filled the room with that awful buzzing sound. Kim felt his hands turn into fists under the table. They had been in this room for 3 months. 3 long months of listening to these aliens tell humans what they could and could not. Crystal-Singer Velthara stood up. Her body flashed with bright blue light. The human military fleet will be reduced to 50 ships. No more. These ships will be used only for transport. No weapons. Ambassador Park wrote notes on her tablet. Her face showed no emotion, but Kim could see her jaw was tight with anger. Bloatlord Mergith made a wet sound that might have been laughter. Human colonies will be limited to 3 star systems. The rest will be given to more deserving species. Commander Lee Min-ho leaned forward. What about the humans already living on those worlds? They will be relocated, General Sithlock said, with a hiss, or they will learn to serve their new masters. Kim felt his blood turn hot. These aliens were talking about moving millions of humans from their homes. Families who had lived on those worlds for generations would be thrown out like garbage. Kethfer raised one of his forearms. The human species will also accept cultural rehabilitation programs. You will learn proper behavior from your betters. Cultural rehabilitation? Park asked. Her voice was calm, but Kim could hear the anger underneath. Yes, Velthara said. Her crystal body flashed brighter. Humans are too aggressive, too emotional, too primitive. You must be taught to behave like civilized beings. Lee Min-ho stood up quickly. His chair fell backward with a loud crash. You want to brainwash us? Sit down, human, Sithlock growled. You prove our point about your species' violent nature. Kim put his hand on Lee's shoulder. The young commander sat back down, but his face was red with anger. Mergith's slimy body shook with what might have been laughter. Humans should be grateful we allow them to exist at all. Most species would have destroyed you by now. Destroyed us? Park asked. For what crime? For being what you are, Kethfer said. Humans are a disease in the galaxy. You spread everywhere. You fight everything. You refuse to accept your place. Kim looked at his team. Park's face was pale with shock. Lee looked ready to jump across the table and attack the aliens. Kim felt something break inside his chest, something that had been holding him back for months. You think we are animals? Kim said quietly. Lower than animals, Velthara replied. Animals know their place in nature. Humans think they are equal to species that ruled the galaxy before your world even had life. We have been patient with you, Sithlock added, but patience has limits. Accept our terms or face the consequences. Looked around the room one more time. That the walls built to make humans feel small? At the aliens who looked at his people like they were insects. At the terms that would turn humanity into slaves, he stood up slowly. Park and Lee looked at him with surprise. Kim reached down and picked up his tablet and papers. He put them in his briefcase and closed it with a loud snap. Admiral. Park whispered. Kim looked at her and nodded. She understood. She gathered her things too. Lee followed their example. What are you doing? Kethver demanded. His buzzing voice was louder now. Kim walked toward the door. His team followed him. When they reached the exit, Kim stopped and turned around. All 12 alien representatives were staring at him with shock. Admiral, Kim, Kethver said, cannot leave. We have not finished. Yes, we have, Kim said. His voice was calm and clear. Humanity withdraws from these negotiations. We will no longer participate in this charade. You are making a mistake, Sithlock hissed. Cannot survive without the Council's protection. We survived before we met you, Kim replied. We will survive after. You will regret this decision, Belthera said. Her crystal body flashed with angry red light. Kim looked at each alien face one more time. He saw arrogance, saw hatred. He saw beings who thought they were gods talking to insects. The only thing we regret, Kim said, is wasting 3 months talking to you. He turned and walked out of the room. Park and Lee followed him. Behind them, the council chamber exploded with angry voices. Aliens shouted and hissed and clicked with rage. But Kim did not look back. He was done looking back. It was time to look forward. The door closed behind them with a soft sound. In the hallway, Lee finally spoke. What happens now, Admiral? Kim smiled for the first time in months. Now, Commander, we show them what humans are really made of. They walked down the long hallway toward their ship. Their footsteps echoed in the empty corridor. Each step took them further from the council. And closer to home, behind them, the aliens were probably already planning their revenge. They thought humans were weak. Oh, they thought humans would come crawling back, begging for mercy. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The council chamber was loud with angry voices. Supreme Arbitrator Kethver slammed his forearms on the table, making a sound like thunder. His insect eyes glowed with rage as he looked at the empty chairs where the humans had been sitting. Dare they walk away from us? Kethver buzzed. No species has ever left council negotiations before. General Sithlock's lizard tongue flicked out as he tasted the air. They are fools. Humans think they are brave, but they are just stupid animals. Crystal Singer Velthera's body flashed with angry red light. This is what happens when you try to be gentle with primitive species. We should have crushed them from the beginning. Bloat Lord Murgis's slimy body shook with laughter. Green slime dripped from his mouth onto the table. Let them go. They'll be back in a few days, crying and begging for mercy. The council. Members nodded and made sounds of agreement. The bird-like Krell representative clicked his beak. The gas cloud Nethrim made a sound like wind through caves. All 12 species agreed that humans were making a terrible mistake. How long do you think it will take? Asked Sub-Commander Zilthak from the Vorthak military. Before they come crawling back, 1 week, Sithlock said with confidence. Maybe 2. Humans are weak. They cannot survive without our protection. Velthera's crystal body grew brighter. Their economy depends on council trade routes. Without us, they will starve. Their military is pathetic, added Fleet Master Kexanal of the Zephyrian High Fleet. 50 human ships against our combined fleets. They would not last 1 day in a real war. Kethver raised his arms for silence. We will give them exactly 1 week. Then we will send a message to their homeworld. We will offer them new terms. Terms? Murgith asked. Harsher terms, Kethver said. His voice buzzed with pleasure. They will surrender their entire fleet. All human colonies will be placed under direct council control, and every human leader will be executed as an example. Council members made sounds of approval. This was how things should be. Rebellious species needed to be punished. Other races needed to see what happened when you defied the council. But while the council celebrated their future victory, human ship was already far from the station. Admiral Kim Taeho stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the main window. His communications officer, Lieutenant Nam Haijin, was busy sending encrypted messages to Earth. Admiral, she said, I have President Choi Hyun-woo on the secure channel. Kim nodded. The screen in front of him showed a man in his 60s with gray hair and serious eyes. President Choi had been a military strategist before becoming a politician. He understood what this moment meant. "Admiral Kim," the president said, "I watched your message. You did the right thing." "Thank you, Mr. President." "What are our orders?" "Defense Minister Yoon Jae-sun is already moving our hidden assets. We have been preparing for this day for a long time." Kim felt relief wash over him. For months, he had wondered if Earth's government would support his decision. He knew. They were ready. "What about the council?" Kim asked. "They will not let this pass." President Choi smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Let them come. They think they know humanity's strength. They are about to learn how wrong they are. The screen switched to show Defense Minister Yoon. The man was younger than the president, maybe 50 years old. He had the hard look of someone who had seen many battles. Admiral Yoon said, "How much do you think the council knows about our real military?" "Very little," Kim replied. "They think we have maybe 200 ships total. They have no idea about the Ghost Fleet." "Good. Keep it that way. We want them confident when they attack." Behind Yoon, Kim could see other officials moving around. Dr. Han Myung from the Human Science Consortium was there. So was Commander Oh Dong-wook from Intelligence. Everyone looked busy and determined. "What about the colonies, Ambassador?" Park asked. She had been quiet since leaving the station, but now she looked worried. "Oh. The council will attack civilian targets first. The colonies have been preparing to," Dr. Han said. "Every human world has hidden defenses. The council will be very surprised." Commander Lee Min-ho spoke up. "Admiral, what about the other species? The ones that are not part of the council?" "Good question," President Choi said. "We have been making quiet contact with them for years. Many smaller species hate the council, but are too afraid to fight alone. They will not be alone much longer." Defense Minister Yoon added. The ship's captain, Captain Jang Woo-seok, approached the group. "Admiral, we will reach Earth in 6 days. Should we prepare for immediate deployment?" "Yes," Kim said. "The moment we arrive, I want the entire First Fleet ready for action." Back on the council station, the aliens were making their own preparations. General Sithlock was meeting with his top commanders in the Vorthok Military Center. The room was hot and humid, just like the Vorthok homeworld. "The humans have maybe 50 combat ships," Sithlock told his officers. "We have over 3,000. This will not be a war. It will be an execution." His second-in-command, Colonel Vector, hissed in agreement. "Should we destroy their colonies first? Make them watch their people die?" "No," Sithlock said. "We take the colonies intact. They will be useful for mining and farming. Kill the leaders, enslave the rest." In the Nethys section of the station, Crystal Singer Valthera was having a similar meeting. Her people communicated through light patterns, so the room flashed with different colors as they talked. "Human technology is primitive," she told her war council. "Their ships are slow and weak. Our crystal ships can cut through their hulls like paper." "What about their ground forces?" asked Battle Singer Kyle Thera. "Humans are soft creatures. They die easily. One crystal storm, and entire cities will fall." The Gorvani were planning to. Bloatlord Mergith sat in his slime pool, surrounded by his advisors. They were already discussing how to divide human territory among themselves. "The human homeworld has good water," Mergith said. "Perfect for breeding pools." "What about the humans already there?" asked his aide. "Food," Mergith replied. "Human meat is supposed to be quite tender." But the most dangerous plans came from the Zephyrian hive mind. In their section of the station, thousands of insect warriors moved in perfect coordination. They shared one mind, one purpose. Fleetmaster Kexenol stood before the massive hive queen. She was 10 times larger than normal Zephyrians, with a body like a living mountain of black shell. "The humans must be made an example," the queen's voice echoed in every Zephyrian mind. "Other species watch. They must see what happens to those who defy the council." "How should we destroy them?" Kexenol asked. "Slowly," the queen replied. "Make them suffer. Make them regret their arrogance." 7 days passed. Council waited for humanity's surrender message. It never came. Instead, they received something else. A simple message from Earth, broadcast on all frequencies. The Galactic Council is hereby notified that humanity rejects all previous agreements. Any Council ship entering human space will be considered an act of war. Earth stands ready to defend itself and its allies. The message was signed by President Choi Hyun-woo, but it might as well have been signed by the entire human race in the council chamber. Kethfer's insect face twisted with rage. So be it. They want war, they will have war. The greatest conflict in galactic history was about to begin, and the council had no idea what they were really fighting. 6 months had passed since Admiral Kim Tae-ho walked out of the council chamber. The aliens expected humans to surrender by now. Instead, something strange was happening in human space. Something that made the council very nervous. General Sithlock stood in the Vorthok command center, staring at a blank screen. For weeks, his best spies had been trying to get information from human worlds. Every single spy had gone silent. Nothing? He asked his intelligence chief, Colonel Victor. Nothing, sir. It is like human space became invisible. Our best agents, our most advanced spy ships, even our listening posts near their borders, all silent. Sithlock's yellow eyes glowed with anger. That is impossible. Humans do not have technology to block our systems, but they did. Deep in a hidden bunker on Earth, Commander Oh Dong-wook watched dozens of screens showing space around every human world. His intelligence division had been planning this moment for years. All Council spy networks are down, reported his assistant, Lieutenant Bae Soo-jin. The quantum encryption fields are working perfectly. Oh smiled. The Council thought humans were primitive. They had no idea that human scientists had been working on quantum technology for decades. While the aliens focused on bigger ships and stronger weapons, humans had learned to become invisible. What about their spy satellites? Oh asked. Destroyed. Or captured, Soo-jin replied. Captain Zhang Wuxiaok's teams did excellent work. Oh nodded. Captain Zhang commanded the human special forces. His soldiers were trained to move like ghosts. They could board an enemy ship, complete their mission, and leave without anyone knowing they had been there. The Council's second shock came from their economic spies. Crystal Singer Velthara received reports that made her crystal body flash. With confusion, this cannot be correct, she told her advisors. Human industrial output has tripled in 1 year. Impossible. But the reports were true. On the human colony world of New Seoul, Chief Engineer Kong Seung-ho stood in the middle of the largest factory complex ever built. Robot arms moved in perfect coordination, building warships at incredible speed. How long for the next destroyer? He asked his foreman, Park Min-ho. 18 hours, Park replied. The new assembly system is working better than expected. Kong smiled. The Council built their ships one at a time, using old methods that took months for each vessel. Humans had learned something different. They built ships like they built cars. Back on Earth, fast, efficient, and in huge numbers. What about the cruiser production line? Kong asked. First one rolls out tomorrow, then one every 3 days after that. The factory stretched 4 kilometers in every direction. Thousands of humans and robots worked together, building the ships that would defend humanity. But this was just one factory. There were dozens more on other worlds, all hidden from Council. Eyes dotted in another part of the galaxy, Admiral Kim stood on the bridge of the Earth's defense ship Determination. Around him, space looked empty. But Kim knew better. He pressed a button on his command chair. Ghost Fleet, reveal yourselves. Suddenly, the empty space around Kim's ship filled with vessels, hundreds of them, all appearing at once like magic. These were the ships the Council had never seen, never counted, never imagined. Dr. Lim Soo-young, the scientist who created the Ghost Fleet, stood next to Kim. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her mind was one of the sharpest in human. Space? The stealth systems are working perfectly, she reported. Council sensors cannot detect us even when we are right next to them. Kim looked at the massive fleet surrounding his ship. Each vessel was controlled by advanced artificial intelligence that could think and fight better than any living crew. The Council had never seen anything like this technology. "How many ships do we have now?" Kim asked. 3,000 combat vessels," Dr. Lim replied. "Another 1,000 in construction. It's all invisible to Council detection." Kim felt pride swell in his chest. The Council thought humans had 50 ships. They actually had 60 times that number, and the real fleet was growing every day. But the biggest surprise was still coming. On the training world of New Busan, Captain Nam Hai-jin led her strike corps through their final exercises. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were the best fighters humanity had ever produced. "Remember," she told her troops, "the Council fights like they always have. Big fleets, direct attacks, overwhelming force. We fight differently." Her soldiers nodded. They'd studied every battle in human history. They knew about ancient warriors who defeated larger armies through speed and cunning. They knew about small groups of fighters who could destroy entire enemy formations. "Show me a boarding action," Captain Nam ordered. 20 soldiers moved like dancers. They flowed through the training ship like water, capturing key positions in minutes. The Council's boarding tactics were slow and clumsy compared to this. "Excellent. Now show me hit and run." The soldiers scattered and regrouped in different formations. They moved so fast that even other humans had trouble following them. Against the slow, predictable Council forces, they would be like lightning striking again and again. But the real test came when the Council finally decided to send scouts into human space. They wanted to see how weak humanity had become after 6 months of isolation. A small Vorthok fleet of 12 ships approached the human colony of New Incheon. The reptilian commander, Captain Siktel, expected to find a poorly defended world, ready for conquest. Instead, he found nothing. The planet looked empty. No ships, no defense platforms, no communications. It was like the humans had simply vanished. "Scan the planet," Siktel ordered. "No life signs, Captain. No energy readings. It is like they abandoned the world." Siktel smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Humans ran away. They knew they could not fight us." But as his ships moved closer to the planet, something strange happened. The empty space around them suddenly filled with human vessels. The ghost fleet had been waiting, invisible and silent. "Where did they come from?" Siktel screamed. His weapons officer was already dead, killed by a human soldier who had somehow appeared on the bridge. More humans materialized throughout the ship, moving like ghosts through the corridors. In less than 10 minutes, all 12 Vorthok ships were captured. The crew was taken prisoner, but they were not harmed. Humans did not kill unnecessarily, Captain. Nam Ha-jin stood on the bridge of the captured flagship, looking at the terrified Vorthok commander. "You will be returned to Council space," she told him. "You will deliver a message to your leaders." "What message?" Siktel asked. "Tell them that humanity is not hiding. We are preparing, and we are ready." The news of the captured scout fleet spread through the Council like wildfire. Suddenly, the aliens were not so confident. If humans could make entire fleets disappear and reappear, what else could they do? In the Council chamber, Kethfer paced back and forth on his insect legs. "How is this possible? Our intelligence said humans were weak." "Our intelligence was wrong," Velthera admitted. Her crystal body flickered with nervous energy. "What do we do now?" asked Bloatlord Murgith. Before anyone could answer, a new report arrived. A human fleet had been spotted near the Gorvani homeworld, but when ships were sent to investigate, they found nothing. The humans had vanished like smoke. Similar reports came from across the galaxy, human ships appearing and disappearing. Council. Supply convoys being captured without a fight. Entire military bases losing contact with their commanders. "They are everywhere," whispered Sub-Commander Zilthik. "How did they build so many ships without us knowing?" Nobody had an answer. For the first time in thousands of years, the Galactic Council was afraid. They had awakened something they did not understand. Something that had been hiding in the shadows, growing stronger while they grew overconfident. Admiral Kim stood in his command center, watching reports from across human space. Every day brought new victories, New proof that humanity was not the weak species the Council believed them to be. "What are your orders, Admiral?" asked his communications officer. Kim looked at the star map showing Council territory. So many worlds, so many species living under alien rule. Soon, they would have a choice. They could continue serving the Council, or they could join humanity in building something better. "Send a message to all human fleets," Kim said. Phase 2 begins now. It is time to show the Council what war with humanity really means. The galaxy was about to change forever. The Council still had no idea what was coming. The attack on Scarthel came without warning. The Vorthok Fortress world had never been conquered in 3,000 years. Its massive shields could stop any weapon. Its defense platforms could destroy entire fleets. General Sithlock called it the strongest world in the galaxy. But on a quiet morning, the shields simply turned off. "What happened?" screamed the fortress commander, Colonel Morthok, as alarms sounded throughout the command center. "Unknown, sir?" His technician replied, "The shield generators are working, but they are not responding to our commands." Morthok felt cold fear. In his stomach, without shields, Scarthel was just another planet. "Send a message to the home fleet. Tell them we need help now." But the communication systems were not working either. Neither were the defense platforms. All across the planet, Vorthok weapons were turning off one by one. High above the planet, General Anbunghan watched from the bridge of his stealth ship. His special forces had been on Scarthal for months, living in the shadows, learning every secret. When the time came, they had simply walked into the control centers and changed a few computer codes. "All systems disabled, General," reported his second in command, Major Kim Do-young. "The planet is defenseless." An smiled. The Council expected humans to fight like they did with big fleets and direct attacks. Instead, humans had learned to fight smart. Begin the assault. The first wave was not ships or bombs. It was sound. Dr. Shin Yongji had discovered that certain frequencies could make Vorthok warriors lose their minds. As the sonic weapons activated, terrible noise filled the air of Scarthal. The effect was immediate. Vorthok soldiers dropped their weapons and covered their ears. Many fell to the ground, unable to think clearly. The sound hurt their reptilian brains in ways they had never experienced. "Make it stop," Morthok screamed, but his own voice was lost in the chaos. Then came the real attack. Human soldiers appeared everywhere at once. They moved through the confused Vorthok defenders like water through a broken dam. By sunset, the strongest fortress in the galaxy had fallen without firing a single shot. But Scarthal was just the beginning. 2 days later, the Nethys crystal ships met disaster near the mining world of Kethmera. The crystal beings had always been proud of their unbreakable ships. No weapon in the galaxy could damage their diamond-hard hulls. Dr. Shin Yunji had found their weakness. 2. Fire sonic torpedoes, ordered Captain Park Ji-hoon from his destroyer. The weapons looked simple. It's just metal tubes that made no visible explosion. But when they reached the crystal ships, something amazing happened. The beautiful diamond hulls began to crack and shatter. "Q!" screamed Crystal Singer Velthara from her flagship. "Our ships cannot be destroyed." But they were being destroyed. The sonic frequencies that Dr. Shin had discovered made the crystal structure vibrate until it broke apart. Ship after ship exploded in brilliant flashes of light. "Retreat," Velthara ordered, but it was too late. Half her fleet was already space dust. The surviving crystal ships fled back to Council space, carrying news of their defeat. For the first time in their history, the unbreakable Nethys had been broken. The worst defeat came at the Gorvani homeworld itself. The slug-like aliens had thought their planet was safe behind its orbital defense stations. Thousands of automated weapon platforms surrounded their world like a deadly shell. Commander Zheng Wuxiok had other plans. Remember, he told his boarding teams, "Gorvani are slow and stupid. They depend on their machines to fight for them. Take the machines, and you take their power." His soldiers used their special armor to survive in space. They flew like bullets from ship to ship, invisible to sensors, moving faster than the automated. Guns could track. Within hours, human soldiers were inside every defense platform. The Gorvani had never imagined that anyone could board their unmanned stations. "Sir," reported Sergeant Lee Haywan, "we control Station Group Alpha, turning weapons toward the planet now." "Station Group Beta captured," added Corporal Yu Sang-min. "Their own guns are now pointing at their cities." Commander Zheng smiled. The Gorvani had built the perfect trap for themselves. "All teams, you were authorized to demonstrate our control. Fire one shot at an empty area. Let them know who runs their defenses now." The single blast from their own weapons sent the Gorvani into panic. Bloat Lord Murge's slimy body shook with fear as he watched his own defense platforms aim at his. "Palace surrender," he screamed to his advisors. "Send a message to the humans. Tell them we will do anything they want." But the message that came back was simple. "Gorvani homeworld is now under human protection. Your people will not be harmed. If you cooperate, the psychological effect was huge." For the first time in galactic history, a council homeworld had been captured. If humans could take the Gorvani capital, they could take any world. But the most shocking defeat was still to come. The Zephyrian High Fleet was the pride of the council military. 10,000 ships moving as one mind, commanded by Fleetmaster Kexanal and the Great Hive Queen. They had never lost a battle. They had never even been seriously damaged. Admiral Song Hai-1 met them near the dead. System Akalo 7. Her fleet looked tiny compared to the massive Sephorian swarm. Only 300 ships against 10,000. "Humans are either very brave or very stupid," Kexanal told his queen through their mental link. "They are about to be very dead," the queen replied. The battle began as expected. The Zephyrian ships moved in perfect formation, their weapons firing in coordinated patterns. But then something went wrong. "Electronic warfare systems activate," Admiral Song ordered. The human ships began broadcasting a special signal that Dr. Lim Soo-young had designed. It was meant to disrupt the Zephyrian hive mind, the mental connection that let them fight as one. The effect was immediate and terrible. Zephyrian ships suddenly stopped moving in formation. Some turned and fired on their own allies. Others spun in circles, their crews screaming in confusion. "What is happening?" Kexanal demanded, but his connection to the hive mind was breaking apart. "I cannot hear the queen," screamed his navigation officer. "I cannot hear anyone." For the first time in their species' history, the Zephyrians were alone in their own minds. They had never learned to fight as individuals. They had never needed to think for themselves. The result was chaos. Ships crashed into each other. Weapons fired randomly. The perfect High Fleet became a confused mob of panicked insects. Admiral Song watched the destruction with mixed feelings. She felt no joy in watching the enemy suffer. But humanity needed to win this war. "All ships, target the command vessels only," she ordered. "Let the others surrender if they want to." The battle lasted only 2 hours. When it ended, the mighty Zephyrian High Fleet was destroyed. Most of the ships had been captured or surrendered. Fleetmaster Kexanal was dead, killed when his ship crashed into an asteroid. Back in the council chamber, the remaining leaders stared at the reports in shock. In 1 week they had lost their strongest fortress, their unbreakable ships, their safest homeworld, and their most powerful fleet. "How is this possible?" whispered Kethver. "We have ruled the galaxy for thousands of years." "The humans are not what we thought," Velthera said quietly. Her crystal body flickered with fear. "They do not fight like other species."
"What do
we do now?" asked the surviving Gorvani representative. Before anyone could answer, a new message arrived. It was from worlds across the galaxy. Not council worlds, but the smaller species that had been forced to obey the council.
Ow.
The Calri Republic declares independence from the council. The Than Confederacy requests human protection. The Moran colonies have voted to join the Human Alliance. One by one, the Council's empire was falling apart. Species that had been afraid to rebel were now rushing to join the humans. They had seen what happened to the Council's military, and they wanted to be on the winning side. "We are losing the war," Kethver said finally. "How did we lose to such a small species?" The answer was simple. but the Council would never understand it. Humans had not won through strength or numbers. They had won through intelligence, creativity, and the will. To fight for what was right, in his command center, Admiral Kim received reports from across the galaxy. Every day brought new victories, new allies, new proof that the Council's time was ending. "What are your orders, Admiral?" asked his communications officer. Kim looked at the star map. Most of the galaxy was still under Council control, but that was changing fast. Soon, the Council would have to make a choice: surrender or face complete destruction. "Send a message to all human fleets," Kim said. "Prepare for the final phase. The Council has one last card to play, and we need to be ready." For it, the war was almost over. The most dangerous part was just beginning. The Council was dying. Reports came in every hour about worlds declaring independence. The Kalari Republic had joined the humans. The Than Confederacy was asking for human protection. Even the tiny Moran colonies were choosing humans over the Council. Supreme Arbitrator Kethfer stood in the empty council chamber, his 4 insect arms shaking with rage. Only 3 species still supported the Council: the Vorthok, the Nethys, and what was left of the Gorvani. The others had either surrendered or switched sides. "We must strike at Earth directly," Kethfer said to his remaining allies. "We destroy their homeworld, the rebellion will collapse." General Sithlock nodded. His once proud military was now just a shadow of its former strength. "I can gather 5,000 ships. It's not as strong as before, but enough to destroy one planet." The Crystal Singer. Velthara's body flickered with desperate light. "My remaining crystal ships will lead the attack. We know their sonic weapons now. We can defend against them." "What about the Gorvani?" Kethfer asked. The new Gorvani leader, Slime Prince Gerthik, was much smaller than Bloatlord Mergith. He had been chosen because he was too weak to resist the Council's demands. "We will provide support ships," Gerthik said quietly, "but our homeworld is still under human control. We cannot risk too much." Kethfer's compound eyes glowed with hatred. "Then we will gather what we have and end this war once and for all." But the humans knew they were coming. Commander Odongwook's intelligence network had spies everywhere. The moment the Council fleet began gathering, he knew about it. "They are massing at the Korvik system," he reported to Admiral Kim. 5,000 ships, maybe more. They plan to attack Earth directly. Kim felt calm despite the danger. This was what they had been preparing for. "How long until they reach our solar system?" 2 weeks, O replied. "Maybe less if they push their engines hard." "Good, that gives." It was time to prepare the final surprise. Kim activated his communication system. All human fleets return to Sol immediately. All colonies begin evacuation protocols. All allies take defensive positions. The message went out across human space. On dozens of worlds, human families began boarding evacuation ships. They were not running away. They were clearing the battlefield for what was coming. But the most important preparation was happening in Earth's solar system itself. Colonel Bae-Sujin stood in the command center of the new solar defense grid, watching as massive platforms moved into position around the sun. "Status report," she ordered. "Platform 1 is at 90% power," reported her engineer lieutenant. "Ko Minsik, Platform 2 is charging now. All systems showing green." Bae smiled. The Council thought they were attacking a normal planet with normal defenses. They had no idea that humans had turned their entire solar system into a fortress. "What about the mirror satellites?" she asked. "In position around Mercury," Ko replied. "Ready to focus solar energy on command?" The mirrors were Dr. Han Myung's greatest invention. Thousands of satellites that could collect the sun's energy and focus it into a weapon more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Excellent. When the Council arrives, they will get a warm welcome. But the Council had their own secret weapon. In the deepest part of their territory, archaeologists had found something terrible. It was a device left behind by the ancients, the mysterious race that had ruled the galaxy millions of years ago. Kethfer stood before the massive machine in the underground chamber. It was the size of a small city, covered in strange symbols that hurt to look at. "Are you certain this will work?" he asked the head archaeologist, Dr. Tilvanix. The ancients used this device to destroy entire star systems, Tilvanix replied. If we can activate it, nothing can stop us. What about the power requirements? We will need to sacrifice 3 worlds to charge it. Their entire populations will die, but it will give us enough energy to destroy the human homeworld. Kethfer felt no sadness about killing billions of innocent people. He had passed beyond caring about right and wrong. He only wanted to win. He ordered. Prepare the device. We'll use it if the direct attack fails. But while the council prepared their ancient weapon, the humans were making their own discoveries. Deep in the ruins of an old research station, Master Sergeant Kim Ji-han and his team found something interesting. Sir called his demolitions expert, Corporal Han Woo-jin. You need to see this. Kim followed him into a hidden chamber. Inside was a control panel covered in the same symbols they had seen on the ancient device. What is it? Kim asked. It is a shutdown command, explained their scientist, Dr. Yu Sangman. The ancients built fail-safes into all their weapons. If we can get close enough to their device, we can turn it off. Kim felt relief wash over him. The Council's secret weapon was not so secret after all. Can you activate the shutdown remotely? Sir, someone has to be there in person. Once they start the shutdown, the device will try to kill them. Suicide mission, Kim said quietly. Yes, sir. If we do not stop it, billions will die. Kim looked at his team. They're all volunteers. All ready to die for humanity. We will worry about that later. For now, let us focus on the direct attack. The Council fleet finally arrived at Earth's solar system. 5,000 ships spread out in attack formation, ready to destroy the human homeworld. General Sithlock stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the blue planet grow larger on his screens. No defenses, he reported to the other commanders. No ships, no platforms. They have abandoned their homeworld. Perfect, Kethfer replied. Begin the bombardment. But as the first weapons fired, something impossible happened. The attacks bounced off an invisible shield that surrounded the entire planet. What is that? Sithlock screamed. His sensors officer was frantically checking his instruments. Unknown energy field, sir. It is blocking all our weapons. Then the real defense began. The massive platforms around the sun activated, focusing solar energy into beams of pure light. The mirrors around Mercury added their power, creating weapons that could slice through any armor. The first beam cut through 3 council ships like they were made of paper. The second destroyed an entire squadron. Within minutes, the council fleet was under attack from weapons powered by a star. Retreat, Sithlock ordered. We cannot fight this. But it was too late. The solar defense grid was too powerful, too fast. Half the council fleet was destroyed before they could even turn around. The survivors fled back to council space carrying news of their terrible defeat. Kethfer received the reports with cold fury. Activate the ancient device, he ordered. If we cannot conquer them, we will destroy them. In the underground chamber, the massive machine began to glow with evil light. 3 council worlds screamed and died as their energy was drained away. The device fed on their death, growing stronger with each billion lives it consumed. Device is at full power, reported Dr. Tilvanix. Ready to fire on your command. Before Kethfer could give the order, alarms began sounding throughout the chamber. Human soldiers were pouring in from every entrance, moving like ghosts through the council defenders. Master Sergeant Kim Ji-han reached the control panel just as the device began to fire. His hand slammed down on the shutdown command, sending the fail-safe signal racing through the ancient machine. The device screamed like a living thing as it died. Energy that should have destroyed Earth instead tore the machine apart from inside. The explosion shook the entire planet, but the terrible weapon was destroyed forever. Kim smiled as the chamber collapsed around him. He had saved billions of lives, even if it cost him his own. In the council chamber, Kethfer watched his last hope die with the ancient device. The rebellion was winning, and his empire was falling apart. Soon, the humans would come for him.
What?
Do we do now? Asked Crystal Singer Velthara. Kethfer looked around at his empty chamber. Most of his species had already surrendered. The few remaining supporters were losing hope. "We surrender," he said finally. "Send a message to the humans. Tell them we want to negotiate." But this time, the humans would be writing the terms. Council's age of power was over. A new age was about to begin. 1 year had passed since Admiral Kim Tae-ho walked out of the council chamber in anger. Now he stood in the same room, but everything had changed. The curved walls that once made humans feel small now seemed welcoming. The massive table where aliens had insulted humanity was gone, replaced by a circular arrangement where all species could sit as equals. Kim wore the uniform of the new Galactic Federation. It's not as a conqueror, but as a peacekeeper. Around him sat representatives from dozens of species, including the former council members who had once thought themselves superior to humanity. General Sithlock sat with his head bowed in shame. His once proud military uniform was gone, replaced by simple civilian clothes. The Vorthok had lost half their territory in the war, but they had gained something more valuable, the chance to start over. The Vorthok Republic requests permission to join the Federation, Sithlock said quietly. "We know we do not deserve your mercy, but we hope you will give us a chance to prove we have changed." Kim looked at the former enemy who had called humans animals. Now, this same alien was asking for help. "The Federation believes in second chances," Kim replied. "But you must prove your commitment to peace." "We understand," Sithlock said. "People are ready to follow Federation law. We will disarm our military and focus on peaceful development." Crystal Singer Velthara spoke next. Her crystal body no longer flashed with arrogance, but glowed with humble blue light. "The Nethys Collective also requests Federation membership. We offer our knowledge of crystal technology for peaceful purposes." "And the trade routes your people controlled?" asked Ambassador Park Soman, who now served as the Federation's Secretary General. "Open to all species," Velthara replied. Number: more monopolies. The more forcing smaller species to pay tribute. Even the Gorvani had changed. Their new leader, Slime Prince Gerthik, was nothing like the fat and cruel Bloatlord Mergith. He was young and eager to make peace. "The Gorvani Union has already begun dismantling our slave camps," he reported. "All captured species have been freed. We are providing ships to return them to their homeworlds." Commander Lee Min-ho, now a general in the Federation Defense Force, reviewed the reports on his tablet. "What about compensation for the worlds you destroyed?" "We will provide resources and labor to rebuild everything," Gerthik promised. "It will take decades, but we will make things right." But the most dramatic change was in the Zephyrian representative. Instead of the hive mind that had once moved as one, individual Zephyrians now sat at the table. They had learned to think for themselves after the battle that broke their collective consciousness. The Zephyrian Free States request federation. "Protection," said their speaker, a young insect named Kextel. "We are still learning to be individuals. We need time to build a new society." "You will have all the time you need," Kim assured him. "The Federation protects all species, even former enemies." President Choi Hyen-woo, attending by video link from Earth, watched the proceedings with satisfaction. The man who had authorized humanity's withdrawal from the old council was now overseeing the creation of something much better. "The Terran Accords will be the foundation of our new government," he announced. "Every species will have equal representation. No one will be allowed to dominate others." Dr. Han Myung, now director of the Interspecies Research Initiative, stood to address the assembly. "We have much to learn from each other. Vorthok, military engineering, Nethys crystal science, Gorvani biotechnology, Zephyrian hive mind research. All of these can benefit everyone if we work together." "What about the worlds that were destroyed in the war?" asked the Kaleri representative. The bird-like species had been among the first to join humanity's cause. "The Federation Reconstruction Project will rebuild every damaged world," answered Defense Minister Yoon Jae-soon. "Human industrial capacity will be used to heal the galaxy, not harm it." The meeting continued for hours as species after species pledged to join the new federation. The Than Confederacy offered their expertise in agriculture, so the Moran colonies shared their knowledge of asteroid mining. Even tiny species that had been ignored by the old council now had voices in the new government. But not everyone was happy with the changes. In a dark corner of the galaxy, the last remnants of the old council met in secret. Kethver, the former supreme arbitrator, looked older and more bitter than ever. "The humans have destroyed everything we built," he said to his few remaining supporters. "Thousands of years of order, gone." "Perhaps it is time to accept defeat," suggested one of his advisors. "The war is over. We lost. Never." Kethver's insect eyes glowed with hatred. "I will not bow to those primitive mammals. There must be a way to restore the old order." But even as he spoke, his forces were abandoning him. Ships left his fleet every day, their crews choosing to join the Federation rather than continue fighting a lost war. Soon, Kethver would be alone with his hatred. Meanwhile, in the Federation Assembly, the real work of building peace was beginning. Captain Nam Hyjin, now commanding the Federation peacekeeping force, reported on the situation throughout the galaxy. "Piracy's down 80%, she said. "Most criminal organizations have disbanded or joined legitimate governments. Few remaining rebels are being hunted by joint Federation forces." Commander O'Dongwook, heading the new intelligence service, added his report. "Information sharing between species has never been better. We are tracking the last council holdouts, but they pose no real threat." "What about the liberated worlds?" asked Park Soman. "Recovery is ahead of schedule," replied Chief Engineer Kung Soon-jo. "Human construction teams are working alongside local species to rebuild infrastructure. Many worlds are already better than they were before the war. The most important change was in the schools. Dr. Yu Sangmin, now Education Minister, had developed new programs to teach young beings from all species to work together. Children who grow up learning from different species will never repeat the mistakes of the past," she explained. "They will see diversity as strength, not weakness." As the meeting drew to a close, Kim stood to address the assembly one final time. "1 year ago, humanity walked away from a table where we were told we were inferior. Today, we sit at a table where all species are equal. The old council ruled through fear and hatred. The Federation will lead through hope and cooperation. We will explore the galaxy together, learn from each other, and build a future worthy of all our children." The representatives from dozens of species stood and applauded. The sound echoed through the chamber that had once witnessed humanity's humiliation, but now celebrated their triumph. But Kim knew the real victory was not in defeating the council. It was in proving that a better way was possible. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had liberated it. In the months that followed, the Federation grew stronger. Trade flourished between former enemies. Scientific discoveries increased. As species shared knowledge, art and culture blossomed as different beings learned to appreciate each other's beauty. The ghost of the old council finally died when Kethver's last ship was captured by a joint Federation patrol. The former Supreme Arbitrator was not executed or imprisoned. Instead, he was given a small house on a quiet world where he could live out his days in peace. "Why?" he asked Kim when they met for the last time. "Why show mercy to your enemies?" Kim looked at the broken old insect who had once called humans animals. "Because that is what makes us different from the old council. We believe in redemption, not revenge." Years passed. The Federation expanded to include every species in the galaxy. Wars became rare. Slavery was abolished everywhere. Scientific advances improved life for billions. Admiral Kim, now an old man, stood in his garden on Earth, watching his grandchildren play with young beings from a dozen different species. They laughed and played together, not seeing differences, but only friends. His wife, Dr. Shin Yoonji, joined him in the garden. She had become famous for her sonic weapons, but she preferred to be remembered for her later work in interspecies medicine. "Do you ever regret walking away from those negotiations?" she asked. Kim smiled as he watched a human child teaching a young Vorthok how to throw a ball. "Never," he said. "Sometimes you have to walk away from the wrong table to find the right one." The galaxy had learned that when humans walk away, they do not retreat. They build something better. And in building that better future, They had shown every species that cooperation was stronger than domination, that hope was more powerful than fear, and that the future belonged to those brave enough to dream of something greater. The Council had called humans primitive. History would remember them as the species that saved the galaxy from itself and built a civilization worthy of the stars.